Any discovery of a Roman dodecahedron is remarkable and unusual because there's not many more than 100 known to exist.
In the summer of 2023, a team of archaeologists in a quiet English village pulled something from this earth that stopped time itself. It was small, bronze, hollow, 12 perfectly formed pentagonal faces, each pierced by a circular hole.
The Roman dodecahedron was about the size of a baseball and had 12 sides. They were hollow inside and multifaceted, with different balls or spikes around the outside of them.
Rounded knobs at every corner, soldered with impossible precision. When lifted into the sunlight, it cast shadows that moved in patterns no one could explain. The object was nearly 2,000 years old, and yet no Roman emperor ever mentioned it. No scholar documented it. No manual described its purpose. It was buried deliberately, sealed like a secret. As if someone didn't just forget this object, they erased it. What scientists found inside would shake everything we thought we knew about Rome and what it chose to hide. This is the mystery that refuses to die.
The Romans were certainly the most brilliant engineers of the ancient world. When we think of Rome today, we think of the Colosseum. All of them are an emblem of Roman civilization.
The discovery that changed everything. The village of Norton Disney sits in the English countryside, unremarkable in almost every way. But beneath its soil lay something that would rewrite our understanding of the ancient world. Unlike most Roman artifacts pulled carelessly from fields by amateur metal detectorists, this dodecahedron was different. It was excavated scientifically, layer by layer, every grain of dirt documented. And what the team found surrounding it told a story no one expected. Roman pottery, 3rd century coins, iron tools, the faint outlines of what may have been a villa or workshop.
What they are has been disputed many times, and I do veer towards the very practical explanation, and that is that it was a sort of knitting device.
This wasn't an object someone lost. It was an object someone buried with purpose. Archaeologists call this a sealed context. It's the kind of evidence that transforms wild speculation into chilling interpretation. But what truly stunned the academic world was the condition of the object itself. The bronze had retained a mirror-like surface, almost no corrosion, no cracks. The soldered knobs at each corner were fully intact after 1,800 years in the ground. One researcher held it up to the light and watched as its geometry created a dazzling array of shadows.
There's a number of uses that have been proposed, from tools in astronomical calculations to candle holders, as well as implements in religious performances.
Pentagonal silhouettes layered atop each other, shifting with the angle of the sun. He said it looked like it was designed to react to light. That single comment would ignite theories that still burn today. If this object was ceremonial, why was it hidden? If it was sacred, why was it buried in silence? And why did Rome never write a single word about it? The impossible object. Here is what makes the Roman dodecahedron so deeply unsettling. As of today, archaeologists have cataloged just over 130 confirmed examples. That number alone is strange. Roman manufacturing typically produced objects by the thousands, not dozens. Even stranger is where they appear. These objects surface almost exclusively along the empire's western frontier. Britain, Gaul, Germania, the Low Countries, lands that were Roman on the surface, but something else entirely beneath. Not a single dodecahedron, has ever been found in Rome itself. Not one from Italy. Not one from the eastern provinces. For an empire obsessed with standardization and record-keeping, that geographic silence is impossible to ignore. The craftsmanship raises even more questions. Many were cast as single bronze pieces using advanced lost wax techniques requiring temperatures and skill that rival modern metallurgy. Some are so precisely balanced they can rest evenly on multiple faces, something unnecessary for any known Roman tool. They are too fragile to be weapons, too complex to be toys, too inconsistent to be measurement devices. And yet, they were valuable enough to be made in bronze, not iron or lead. Despite thousands of Roman reliefs showing tools, rituals, and daily life, not a single image anywhere depicts a dodecahedron. No carving, no fresco, no mosaic, no mention in any text that survived the fall of the empire. It is as if these objects existed in plain sight, but outside official memory. And when researchers tried to explain them, every theory collapsed. The theories that fell apart. For decades, scholars proposed simple answers. Measuring devices, they said. Soldiers used them to estimate range by aligning the holes. But the holes vary wildly in size, even on the same object. No calibration exists between any two artifacts, and not one has ever been found with military equipment. Knitting gauges for gloves, others suggested. But Roman knitting didn't require circular gauges, and the metallurgy needed to cast these objects far exceeds anything required for a domestic accessory. Candlestick holders, some claimed. But many dodecahedra have open bottoms. They lack scorch marks, no soot buildup, no discoloration from heat. Each theory crumbled under scrutiny. And then researchers noticed something that had nothing to do with function. It had everything to do with location. The frontier secret. The Roman dodecahedron appears almost exclusively in regions where Rome struggled most to erase what came before. Britain, Gaul, Germania. Lands where Roman law ruled. But indigenous belief systems quietly endured beneath the surface. Many have been found near burial sites, river crossings, settlement boundaries, places considered liminal in ancient belief systems, thresholds between worlds. Rivers marked borders between the living and the dead. Boundaries were spiritually charged. These are not places where Romans casually lost tools. These are places where rituals happened. Several dodecahedra show no signs of long-term handling. Edges aren't worn. Holes aren't smoothed by repeated use. They were not everyday objects. They were brought out briefly, used for specific moments, then hidden or buried. That behavior aligns far more closely with ceremonial objects than practical ones. The absence of Roman documentation now looks less like an oversight and more like a deliberate choice. Roman authorities were deeply suspicious of unauthorized divination and indigenous ritual practices. Laws criminalized magic, prophecy, and unsanctioned religious activity. Objects associated with those practices would not be cataloged. They would be suppressed, ignored, quietly removed from public life. Some archaeologists now suggest the dodecahedron represents something Rome tolerated but never embraced. An object crafted with Roman metallurgy, but never integrated into Roman culture. A secret hiding in plain sight. But the deepest secret was still waiting to be found. What science found inside. In recent years, scientists stopped asking what the dodecahedron looks like and started asking how it behaves. Researchers at Oxford conducted residue analysis on 5 authentic specimens from different sites. 3 of them contained traces of burnt organic matter, microscopic carbon particles, oxidized copper salts, and more disturbing, faint traces of animal blood proteins. Alongside those, they found botanical residues, lavender, thyme, resin from pine and fir trees, all plants associated with funeral rituals and purification rites in Roman and Celtic traditions. The chemical structure partially matched recipes used in ancient embalming mixtures. This wasn't contamination. It pointed to deliberate burning of ritual substances inside or near the object. But the most disturbing discovery came in early 2025. A leaked research paper revealed that deep within the hollow chamber of the Norton Disney Dodecahedron, scientists found microscopic traces of calcium phosphate fused with amber resin and rendered animal fat, and a distinct isotope signature, cremated human bone. The dodecahedron may have functioned as a ritual vessel, not symbolic, but actively used in ceremonies involving the dead. The fact that several have been found near human burial sites or among grave goods now seemed far more than coincidence. One museum quietly removed its dodecahedron display after the findings went public. And then there was the manuscript, The Forbidden Knowledge. In late 2024, researchers re-examined a forgotten medieval document stored in an isolated monastic archive. Catalogued as Codex 134, this 12th century Latin manuscript contained a phrase never fully translated until now. It spoke of 12 faces pierced and crowned, handled by the whispering ones of the forest, used to hear the voices of the stone sleepers. High-resolution imaging revealed something chilling. The description matched the Roman dodecahedron exactly. Bronze, 12 perforated sides, rounded protrusions at each vertex. The manuscript warned that such spheres were not to be shown under the imperial eye and were to be buried when the stars turned thrice upon the wolf's shadow. Astronomers matched that phrase to a triple lunar eclipse cycle used in Druidic calendars. The burial instruction mirrored exactly how real dodecahedra had been found. Intact, underground, near celestial markers. This document, written centuries after Rome fell, may have preserved fragments of oral traditions the empire tried to erase. The silence and the truth. For over 130 discoveries across 2,000 years, the Roman dodecahedron has never been the central subject of a single major funded research project. The British Museum didn't display one until 2014, despite having owned specimens for decades. One archaeologist called it a career killer. Too fringe to fund, too weird to publish, too disconnected from any accepted Roman category. But quietly, independent researchers are piecing together patterns that mainstream academia ignored. Ritual use, burial alignment, astronomical mapping, sound resonance. Perhaps the dodecahedron was never meant to be understood by everyone. Perhaps it was built to be remembered only by those who knew what to look for. Rome conquered the world with roads, laws, and language, but some things refused to be conquered. Some knowledge was too dangerous to destroy. So it was buried instead. Waiting. The dodecahedron is still waiting. And now, so are we.